Hey guys, welcome to the Tetra Health and Performance Podcast. Today we're tackling New Year's resolutions, habits, behavior, intentions. And kind of like just assessing our year and seeing how we're going to go into the next year and what we can do to influence the direction we want to go. But first, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to all the listeners. Hope you've had an amazing year and thank you for listening with us and being on this journey with us. Mate, we appreciate all your support and we're really looking to dive in today and keep popping out these podcasts into 2023.
Yeah, definitely. This has been a fantastic journey this year, and I look forward to carrying this throughout to 2023 with the podcast. So far we've managed to maintain our goal of doing one per week for the last 20 podcast episodes now,
Mm-hmm.
and the aim is to do one every week for the whole year, and then see where we then reset, and then see where we need to go from there on. So far we've managed to maintain our goal, which is pretty good.
Hey now, doing all right, mate.
And yeah, talking of goals, with New Year's coming up, it's where we hear how often people have these really good intentions to make change. This is at an all-time high around this time of year, which I think, like, you hear people badmouth it, you hear people talk about how, or people captivate on it as a market. Well, I think it's a fantastic opportunity to kind of if not it is to change your goals, then maybe it is to look back over the year, see what you've done, see maybe how you'd like to improve, and then think about where you want to be when we go to 2024. And I think the biggest mistake that most people make is they set their goals too high or to get to the end of the year and then realize that they haven't been able to do anything. And this is where we talk about this kind of this intentions behavior gap. And the intention behavior gap is something that's been studied by psychologists. And it's actually to say that 40% of intentions don't lead to a behavioral change. So you think about that as New Year's Eve, for example, or New Year's. You talk to people about your plan for the year, things that you want to change, the New Year's, what's it called? New Year's resolutions, your New Year's resolutions, and how many of them actually play out and eventuate or are fruititious at the end of the year. I think quite often the biggest mistake people make is they're not realistic and they're not setting their goals low enough, which is kind of sounds sad at first, doesn't it? And also they don't know themselves well enough. Like, goals work best when they're actually a slight improvement of what you already do. So if you look at yourself at this current time, I like a good example of, for example, if I floss my teeth 5 times a week, then a simple and very achievable goal is for me to say, hey, well, actually, I'm just going to start flossing my teeth 7 times a week. When it comes to the gym, we often notice that people sign up at this kind of time of year and their intentions are too high and we have to pull them back. So it's kind of sometimes being like, okay, so have you been training at all recently? They say maybe no. And then we say to them, well, how many times would you like to get into the gym? And they say, every day. And you're like, okay, well, from personal experience, everyone I've ever spoken to who says that, they don't end up getting in every single day. If anything, they come in once or twice and they actually end up being upset with only doing one or two. Well, take that to another person, someone who doesn't come in at all and actually realizes that doing just 1 or 2 sessions a week is a massive improvement and that should hopefully snowball over time. Well, they're setting themselves up for success because they're getting this positive behavioral change where they're being proud of themselves for getting 1 to 2, and then later on that 1 to 2 can be maintained or can be improved to 3, 4 a week.
This is a cool time with all those behavior intents. The intention slash the behavioral gap is to look back at your past year and analyze where success was, and because success leaves clues, and those clues are good behavioral traits. And also to kind of look where maybe we didn't go right, like what inhibited a certain behavior that we wanted. Was it like an environmental factor? Was it something internally in yourself? And where can we improve into this upcoming year to kind of upregulate the behaviors we want? Because those behaviors compounded will link into the results that we're after. Because we are a collection of what we do every day. That's what kind of leads us into the direction that we want to go. So looking back and analyzing the year that was and going, okay, you know what, maybe my nutrition wasn't on point. I had a lot of binging episodes this year. How can I mitigate that? And how can I look to have a better relationship with food, or kind of, maybe set a few roadblocks in front of me so I don't have binging episodes? Or it might be, why wasn't I able to get to the gym? Maybe, I don't know, I live a little bit far away from the location, or maybe I'm leaving work too late, or I'm not having snacks before the gym and I'm getting hungry and I'm making an excuse not to get in. It's a great time to analyze yourself and kind of see what worked and what didn't. Because you can learn so much more when you look to build a plan into the next year and try and upregulate more success into the year that's coming up.
Exactly. And what Mitch mentioned there was we have a whole podcast on it, the why. Like, so make sure that when you realize what you may have done that isn't pushing you in the right direction, you have to question yourself on why that might have been the process, why that might have happened. And then you have to look at what maybe, and we've spoken about this in our other habits podcast, but we have to look at, first of all, like the what cues a routine to happen, and then what the reward is to that routine. So it goes cue, routine, reward. And then if you can start seeing these kind of bad habits that you've taken up, and bad habits, just like good habits, they snowball. So a bad habit can get bigger and bigger. Like you could get home and have one beer, and that one beer might later on turn to two beers. And hence, then all of a sudden, for the last few weeks, you've had two, 3 beers a night. But you can do the same thing with your good habits and bad habits. But you have to, first of all, let's try and knock down as many bad habits, and let's try and create as many good habits. And let's look at why they actually eventuated. What was happening that allowed them to eventuate? Talking about habits, well, when we look at the intention behavior gap, so 40% of intentions don't actually end up being behavioral changes. Well, at the same time, it's 40%, and this is like a correlation, 40% of our daily routine is habits, like these kind of like unconscious habits, where again, we go back to that kind of like there's a cue, and then we have this routine that we follow through, and then we are rewarded. Well, if that's 40%, that kind of gap, well, we can look at probably as habits that are probably not, our habits are probably out of place, and that's what's not driving our behavioral change. So changing habits is going to be one of the biggest factors in allowing yourself to get somewhere. And this is where we have like these really small, like creating these really small gaps throughout the year, because habits only have to be slight to, like Mitch just mentioned, to increase and like create profit throughout the year. So it can just be that, oh, what am I doing right now? And where can I make these very slight changes here and there to lead me to success to the end of the year?
Cool. What was I gonna say here? Like, this is like a good time of the year too. Like, most of us are forced into holidays this time of year. Like, your work says, "Hey, we're closing down for 2 weeks. Like, go take your time." Yes, there is a bit of chaos with the family, and you have to do certain commitments. But hopefully, there's a few days where there's nothing, and you can just be with yourself and be with your mind. And this is why it can be a good time to reflect and build plans, because we have time. We get like hopefully our bucket's like pretty empty at the moment. We don't have a massive amount of commitments. We're just chilling, ideally, right? So while you're sitting there and like there's not much on, now's the time to kind of build what you want to do and the direction you want to go. So analyze what behaviors worked and didn't work, and now what direction do I want to go, and what behaviors need to be inserted to get there. And those behaviors will need systems to get there. And you might be looking at like a year lens, like I don't know, a quarter lens, a month lens, a weekly lens, or you might want to look at all of those and start to build what do I need to work on a daily basis, to work into a weekly basis, to work into a monthly basis, to compound and kind of roll out for the rest of the year and get me where I need to go. If I'm starting to get success on a daily basis, how can I up it on a weekly basis? And how can I intensify that goal as I keep going along and I keep having success? So look to layer good behaviors as well to kind of up where you need to go. So example of this, James gave the example earlier of someone coming and going, I want to train every day. Well, no, bro, like please lower your expectations and come for 2 to 3. But if you can sustain that habit for a couple of months and you're feeling pretty cool and you're recovering pretty well, now let's do the extra session. Let's take that 3 to 4. How's your recovery going? How's everything going in between? You're feeling good, you're getting good improvements. Now let's maybe look like 4 to 6 months down. Maybe let's do that fifth session now. And that's slowly layering those behavior changes to get better results and to kind of compound into the direction that you want to go.
And as Mitch mentions there, like you got the idea of planning. So we're taking this time up where most people around this time of year are having a couple of weeks off, or things are slowing down, right? Well, whether it's not at home, your things are slowing down. Well, you know, at work, things are going to slow down, and you just can't get much done around Christmas time. It's like a whole
Mm.
month where everything just is like you can't really achieve too much. So it's a good time to like be intrinsic, look at yourself, and then see what you can improve. And with that being said, it's a good time to make a plan, but it's also the perfect opportunity to create habits. When we look at habits, some of the most interesting things about habits is when there's these moments of stress, right? I actually mostly resort to my habitual self. So we look at people who eat junk food, and then when they are stressed, they actually end up eating more junk food. And We look at people who have built a habit of training. So when they're actually under high stress loads, they don't just stop training. They actually just maintain training because it's become a habit. Obviously, it takes time to develop habits, but this is also habits. When we go into our more habitual self when we're stressed, well, actually, the best time to create habits is when we're not stressed. So when we have this free time, yeah, to like for over the next couple of weeks, well, this would be the perfect opportunity to get to the gym, create that habit, or look at other habits. So you can, I do the planning as soon as possible so that I have that 2 week gap of not having to work as much where I can actually start laying the foundations for my habits. Habits are stronger. Habits get so much stronger during stress. So it's a really important like note to be like, okay, it's actually easier for me to create habits under low stress environments. Look at my year. When are my lower stress environments? When are my lower stress time frames? And then plan towards then to create habits. Maybe plan outside of them times to have a more of a maintenance, like Mitch said there, like have more of a maintenance time, and then you can go to improve your habits again in these less stressful times. And it's kind of like preparation for stress, right? It's the same thing. It's the same thing when it comes to nutrition and dieting. You're looking at kind of like, oh, okay, well, I know that through that time over Christmas, I'm going to be more of a, I'm going to go through a more of a maintenance phase or a muscle building phase because I'm going to make my lifestyle and my environment suit my goals.
It's so important. Like when you're planning that, write it down. Rather than being stored in your head saying what you want to do, it is so powerful just to put that pen to paper or in your note section, your phone, and kind of visually see it written down. And sometimes that can just make it so much more powerful having that written down. Even more powerful, sharing that with someone that you trust and that would be supportive of what goals or targets you're trying to achieve. And someone that's going to not try and drag you down, but kind of encourage you and build you up or if not, be on the journey with you. Say if it is like you don't train at the moment and you want to get into a training behavior and build that as a habit, trying to get a friend to go along with you and go together because that's great accountability. And you are so much more likely for success having a supportive environment or a supportive individual sharing your goals with you and keeping you accountable to the actions that you're trying to do. It's like James said, like we're trying to do these in non-stressful times. But life is unpredictable and hectic. And when we're trying to get a good behavior to stick and life just does what it does and gets crazy sometimes, having someone to have a chat with that can be supportive and just help you get through that little rough zone and keep at that behavior can be huge. And then, like the task, right? What we said earlier is it to be like just to be running on autopilot eventually and be part of who you are, not a conscious intention. Mate, that's where we want to get to. And it's so important to be able to write that down, visually see it, break it down, and have a supportive environment driving you towards it. Success is so much more likely.
Yeah, so there's two good, really good studies, and one of them is talks about how with lifestyle change, well, this is especially regarding nutrition. It's so much easier if your friends and family are supportive, or even better than being supportive is if they're willing to adapt the changes, especially when you live with them. So, however easy it may be and helpful it may be for them to be like, "Hey, you can do this," and kind of give you this outside support. It's actually way even more beneficial if they're actually joining you on that mission, and they're kind of like, okay, well, we're going to eat healthy. I'm going to eat healthy with you. Yep. So amazing if they can actually just support you in the process, as in not putting you towards maybe bad behaviors, but even better if they can actually join you for a while in the process. Additionally, like it's not just at home, right? It's not just family and friends. We've also got to look at where we spend most of the day. Most people is at work, like making sure that your work colleagues are actually join in. Another study was done on that as well. Is actually to say that having your work colleagues know about your goals and them actually supporting you in it, or maybe even joining in with you again, is going to be so much more beneficial towards you reaching your goals. So, like Mitch just said, it's like you have a goal. It starts off in your brain. Well, that goal is actually worth way more once it's written on paper. It becomes more real to yourself. And on top of that, actually verbalizing the goal to your friends and family and work colleagues can be extremely powerful. I think it's really interesting to think of the idea that when we talk about behavioral change, that there was actually another study is called Raising the Bar report. It shows that newly qualified fitness professionals often lack the required level of behavior change and facilitation skills. And I think how important it is when we look at not just trainers, but we look at if I am going to set myself up for success, then I want people around me motivating me as much as possible. And we want to be able to, the more I can motivate someone else towards their goal, even if it is separate to your goal, the more that I feel that I think of it as success through osmosis. If someone is successful in any way, then hopefully there's an osmosis where it's going to transfer over to me and I'm going to be more successful. There's a lot of talk about how you are the average of those around you. So the more you can take your time to pick other people up around you, whether that be at home, your colleagues at work, in a gym like here, right? Like we want to pick everyone up around us. If I'm in a gym session and I'm training and I'm doing well, but someone's not doing that well, well, there is some osmosis of that person slightly putting you down. So, what would be the best thing to do, right? The best thing to do would be to encourage that person, get them to work as hard as possible. And the fitter everyone gets as a community and together, the more it will drive each and every person up, right? I really do look at it as in a session with 12 people, sometimes you're going to have them leaders, then people who are just extremely strong sometimes, like, or whatever, they're good at what you're doing at that time, and they pick people up. Well, it's also important that we look down and we go, okay, you're struggling a little bit in this moment. This is maybe not where your biggest strong point is, and you want to pull them up as well, because in a selfish way, that's going to lift you up over time as well.
Mate, I'm thinking Simpsons here. I don't know if you remember the episode. Bart's in trouble. He's doing really poor academically, and he's in the middle of the classroom, and there's like a vortex around him. He's an F, and the ones around him are like a D,
Yeah, yeah.
and the ones around them are like B's and
I
A's.
remember this.
Yeah, yeah. So hopefully that visual kind of drives it home for
Hopefully, we can drive that visual up here in the corner on the YouTube.
you. But that's a tough discussion to analyze your social environment as well. Like if your mates like love a Friday night drink or a Saturday night drink and they egg you on to always come out, honestly having a discussion with them like, guys, I really, I'm trying to lose a bit of body fat at the moment, or I'm really trying to have a more of a healthier intent at the moment. Just sharing that with them, maybe they won't egg you on so much, or maybe you come out, they won't try and make you drink as much, or on the toughest level, you might have to say, hey mate, I'll catch up with you during the day for lunch or something, because I've got to make this sacrifice for what I'm trying to work towards. And that can be confronting and hard to do, but sometimes those sacrifices are needed to get you where you need to go. And I know that's confronting, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and with that being said, like when people are kind of egging you on and like helping you with your goal, an important part of that is to explain to them, not just yourself. We talk about the why often, and we talk about you understanding why you want to achieve the goal. Well, if I understand it, I should also be trying to explain that to the people around me who are going to support me. If I just give them this kind of blank canvas or this is my goal, and they don't truly understand why I want to achieve it, or maybe give as much information about the goal that you want to achieve as possible, then the more they understand, the more they can support you in the way that it's needed. And this just brings me to like another study. It's about trainers and counselors, but it's about the style of the trainer is one of the biggest determinants of the client's outcomes. And it's high empathy counselors and trainers that achieve a greater success rate with their clients. And I think the why is what really helps lead to empathy. Like someone can't be empathetic unless you are truly expressing your feelings and emotions towards your goal. So I think that if we take that into consideration, I should be empathetic to other people's goals. I should ask them why. I say if I'm looking at like trying to build a successful environment and I'm trying to be like the average of those around me, and to do that, to be a higher average, then I need to bring everyone up around me as well, to bring me up myself. We can all be in this kind of supportive environment in the gym, at work, and at home. Then I need to make sure we kind of all understand each other's whys. We need to be empathetic to other people so that they can in return be empathetic back to us. And then we have this kind of like win-win relationship where we're kind of like, oh, we can push everyone towards the greater goal.
Yeah, well, I'm going to just take one step back, and I'll step back forward again. Just a quick one on that friendship circle. If someone isn't supportive of you trying to better yourself, that's a tough conversation to have. Like I want my friends to do really well. I want them to be healthy, successful with their business, have beautiful family relationships, and I'm happy to listen and to hear what their intents are and support them the best I can. I think that's what the type of friendship group that you want to have as well. If your friendship group is perpetuating self-destructive behaviors and not pushing you in the direction you want to go, that's again tough conversation. And again, in regards to here and listening to someone's intent and what behaviors they want to set up, it starts with listening and just listening to where that person wants to go. And you can obviously do this at home, right? Chat to your partner, your mom, your dad, whatever it happens to be, rather than you going first and telling them. Ask them what they want to do and how can you support. And then you starting that good behavior effort at home can then be reciprocal. And then they might then go, hey, how can I help you? And what are you after? So you can start the conversation by listening and seeing how you can be supportive of those around you. It's like we just said, anchoring up the whole family or the whole friendship group can start with you helping someone else, and then return that will help you as well.
Success breeds success, and there's a really good word. It's Schadenfreude. It's a German word,
Yeah,
and the word Schadenfreude is kind of expresses that you feel happy when someone else doesn't get something that they were trying to achieve. I just think the word Schadenfreude, however funny it is, and we can all kind of relate to that. And at the end of the day, that we should be happy with other people's success, and then we should, if someone gets success over ourselves, and we should look at why that's happening, and we should be aiming to achieve our own success, or maybe even ask that person like, how did you do this or whatnot, so we can learn from that and then push ourselves further forward, and kind of like understand that when you are in a team, like Mitch was saying, you are in a family presence, that you want to build everyone up and achieve things together, but there's always going to be this schadenfreude. There's always going to be people who sadly get happier over other people's failures, or people sometimes are jealous of what you're trying to achieve. And I think it comes to a point like when someone isn't so much supportive of your goals, you have to ask them kind of like, do you feel like you're being supportive of my goal, and why do you think this is the case? Like, you can work around it, you can figure out, and then maybe it's because they need more help towards their goals, and you can just work on like communication. Yeah, just it is just communication, like making sure that you are communicating as much as possible and you understand what needs to be done.
and sometimes the haters are just gonna hate.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's
Some
it.
people are just horrible, and unfortunately, like that just is what it is. And we can help as many as we can try to help, and you can only help people that want to be helped as well. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I think we're lucky in this gym that I don't feel that we really have any haters. I feel like
Mm.
everyone does try their best to pick people up. And I think sometimes when someone isn't doing that, I think it's only because they're really just in their own head too much, and they need to pretty get out of their own head and look around for a second.
Definitely. I'll share some with you guys here too. And like on this, we talked earlier about trying to pick areas that are less stressful and trying to pick good times to improve on things. So when you're analyzing yourself and like, what can I do in this next year, and what person do I want to be, and what systems and what habits do I need to be that person I want to be over the course of a year, a lifetime, whatever it happens to be. And you don't have to improve everything in your life. I look at four little quadrants in personally. I look at what I want to do with my family, how I want to develop as a person, what I want to help do with the business in the next year, and then my own health and training goals. So I'm not trying to improve every single one of those for next year. Some of them I might sustain, and others I might try to grow. But for myself personally, next year or last year, I did this. It was a goal. It was family wise, was to have at least one present moment, like to be 100% present, no distractions with each member of my family, like my immediate family, my kids and my wife. I would try and have one moment with just pure connection, no distraction, where I'm just fully present with them for whatever length of time that was. And how small that is, but trying to do that every day. And I want to do that again next year. No changes. Just try and keep that behavior alive. And I reckon that'll be cool to sustain that. I'm happy with that as a family goal. Self development wise, I want to learn a lot more about more business and systems and growth and things of that nature. So hopefully reading a few more books on that and getting a little bit more business savvy, and hopefully, more ideas to grow benchmark. And additionally, I probably failed at this goal this year, which is trying to learn more guitar. I've got a few lessons with an awesome member at the gym. Aaron, thank you for all your help. But I want to get back into that this coming year and try and practice that and get a little bit more adept at that kind of goal. From a business effort, we've got a lot going on with the gym next year. There's a lot of cool goals that we've got going on. Some has to still remain a little bit secretive, but others are like, keep the potty going. The gym's almost at full growth, so we have to look at other ways for expansion. We've got like a little secret thing in the background, which I can't wait to share with you guys coming up in the next couple of months. And also, I would love to start talking at places, at gyms, and start doing some seminars and start spreading our knowledge to other young coaches. So that's a big goal for us as well. And for my health kind of goal, man, I want to do some more. I want to compete in jiu-jitsu again next year. I haven't done it since the white belt, now purple belt. I want to try and roll with some animals and kind of just test myself in that area. They're kind of my four quadrants. So I've got three of them that I'm trying to grow with and one of them trying to sustain with. And I'll be able to try and build a bit of a plan for next 2023 to try and achieve all of those and reassess how I went last year and what failed and how can I go better. That's just a bit of my own personal ones.
Yeah, I love that, and I've done the same kind of thing. It's got a like a spider diagram, and you can look at it from all these different aspects. And the whole idea is you have the center of the spider, which is the center of the web, sorry, which is yourself, and then on the outside, it's like how far do you go out in each of these other directions. That was from that my one of my favorite books. It's a really short read, and at the top, I've lost the name of the guy. It's called the compound effect. Anyway, so I can't Dan something I think, but I won't mention that. Maybe we'll mention it in the notes. So like when it comes to for myself, last year actually, I've been very successful with my goals this year, and last year with
Darren Hardy.
Darren Hardy,
That's it.
Darren, that's it, not Dan. Darren Hardy, yeah. Really good, really, really, really good book. And I'd suggest it for once you read the book, he has a link out to these spider diagrams where you kind of get very intrinsic. You do some kind of like self personal assessments and stuff. You find out what kind of personality type you are. 'Cause it's all interesting things to learn, especially when you're going towards your habits. And last year I was quite successful with my habits. I had a family goal. My family goal was to actually speak to my family more often and have them over. And I'm successful with that, and I just want to keep that going forward. That every weekend try and speak to them, even if it's just through text. With the girlfriend, it was like go on more dates, like actually, and for myself to actually organize more dates. And I think
Nice.
I have to ask her, but I feel like I was extremely successful with that one. Self development is something that I've been really continuous with over a long period of time. And if anything, now my goal would be to slow it down a little bit because I have got a little bit over the top. I've built a habit that maybe has caused me to build some anxiety over where I do like an hour a day every single day, and I've calmed down with that a little bit recently, which has actually helped me to actually take more information in. When it comes to business, the same kind of things. Me and Mitch, like when it comes to business, we've got the same kind of goals this year. I think we're gonna have a really good, successful year coming up in
Bring it on, bro.
2023, but I think it's gonna be mad. And like having Callan on board has been fantastic. He can't be here today to join us, but he's been fantastic with taking over a ton of work to allow us to go into the background and actually develop things from a business standpoint. Health and training. Last year I kind of went through these kind of like blocks of like trying to build some muscle. So I went through like a bulk. That's successful. Like I'm back. I'm lean again now, and I think I've on average about 4.5 kilos of increased muscle mass. Some of them might be fat. I might
Nice
be
work,
over
mate. No, no,
estimating.
no. All
But I
for
put on
pure muscle.
yeah, I put on about. I'm pretty sure I'm at the same kind of leanness as I was last year, but now a good 4 or 5 kilos heavier. So I don't know if I'm just holding it somewhere else that I can't find, but I haven't done a DEX or anything like that yet. But I plan on doing the same thing throughout this year, like actually going through I'm in a maintenance phase at the moment, and I'll try and bulk up again. Well, I did get quite fat, I feel, at one stage, but it worked anyway. And then I did a nice slow cut on the back end of the year. So yeah, I'm looking forward to 2023 and what it has to offer. And I think yeah, like Mitch is talking about and what we've just expressed with you, it's really important to have these goals coming in different directions because success breeds success. If I'm only successful in the gym, I might be leaving effort and time for what could be building me up in my business or what could be building up. I might be limiting my family. And at the end of the day, like you're going to be a happier human being if you are more well-rounded. Like you're not going to get all your happiness from being six-pack abs and
Hmm.
built like a brick. Yeah, you're going to get when you look when it's always a good thing to do is look at who you want to be to achieve what you want to have, right? And I think a lot of other things to always think about is what you're going to think about on your deathbed as well. And time is always going to get wasted. It's guaranteed. Matter of fact, like no one is perfect, but to have as few regrets as possible in your life, I think, is an extremely important thing.
One of the most impactful books I ever read. It was during lockdown. Someone borrowed it. Someone let me borrow it from the gym. It's called A Guide to the Good Life. It was like a very stoicism type of book, and very much that, James. One of the first opening chapters. It was, who do you want to be on your deathbed, and like what character do you want to be remembered as, and what it kind of summed down. Like a lot of people go, oh, I want to spend more time with my family. I want to do things in life and all that sort of thing. And they're very common answers. But if you remove those experiences, who are you? Remove family, remove experiences, who are you? Am I someone that's disciplined? Am I someone that's caring? Do I look after people? Was I charitable? Like, and then from there, how do you break that down into like behaviors? And how do you repeat that day after day and day after day? So what behaviors build to the person you want to be? And are you happy with that person on your deathbed? I know that's like pretty full on to be talking about that sort of stuff here, but that's something to kind of honestly contemplate and think about, because what person do you want to be? Like just James said, 'cause that's a big question. And who we surround ourselves, what we do day to day, how we eat, how we socialize, how we work, what job we do, all that sort of stuff. It grafts us in a certain direction. Is that the direction we want to go in? Is that the direction we'll be happy with, you know, when day comes?
When day comes.
This just got full on.
Yeah,
I didn't expect it.
yeah, which that day could come any moment, right? You could walk outside and get hit by a bus.
Yeah.
But yeah, 100%. So, talking about intention and behavior, if that day could come at any moment, then let's start our behavioral change as soon as possible,
Mm.
rather than just always have good intention. Off that, I'm just gonna get off the
Let's go happy now.
deep and mushy stuff. Oh, it's not even happy. It's just I'm gonna just quickly just discuss like technology.
Mm.
So we know now that like we want to set small goals, very achievable goals. And one of the coolest things about the modern day technology that you can get now, there's so many apps. You obviously have things like Apple Watches. You have something we have used a few times called a Whoop or Aura Rings. And the idea is that the cool things about them is they track change. So quite often, lots of the change that we're trying to achieve and our goals, they aren't noticeable that we're on the direction towards these goals until we get there. And the issue with that is if it takes 2 months or 3 months for one of your goals to become obvious that it has been successful, then we aren't getting these constant feedbacks of keep going towards your goal, keep going towards your goals, and we're not getting these motivations. So the cool things about trackables is that we will see slight progress all the time. We'll see, oh, we had a better night's sleep. We can watch that we've done more exercise on that day. We can see that we've been like more active in general. That all these things will just slowly keep you towards your goal, or if even if they don't actually show you that you've improved in many ways, they'll show you that you're doing the right things on a day to day and remind you that you're on your way towards the goal. I think that more and more now, like it is acceptable and really good idea to have some kind of technology to track with, right? Tracking is one of the most important things towards progress because you can kind of go, hey, oh, actually, I did really well today, pat on the back. And there's going to be days where you don't do that well. There's also going to be days where you're like, okay, well, I did really well, pat on my back, and you just again you're setting up this cue routine reward for these good behaviors that by the end of the year you're gonna it's gonna pay off.
What's measured is managed.
Yeah, and not eye on the prize but eye on your behavior, right? So you just don't worry about the prize, understand that the behaviors you've chosen are the behaviors that are going to lead you to the prize, and just have trust in the process and enjoy the journey. We're just gonna pop out quotes now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. How many quotes you got, dude? But yeah, technology's amazing. Like, and again, I said we use this all the time. I love it, right? I know when I've had a crappy day because of my sleep is crap, and I can kind of see it. But then I know I've learned pretty damn well what routine I need to do to have a good restorative night's sleep, so I can be a better version of myself for the next day, right? Getting up at 4:30 is no fun, but if I'm more recovered, I've done my strategies, I'm more alert, I'm present, I'm ready to have present the best version of myself to the members that are training. And that's what I want to do, man. I always want to present the best I can and not be dragging my heels and be buggered and all of that sort of stuff. So that is a nice behavioral trait that's had to be crafted over the course of the last couple of months to years to feel better and perform better.
And when people look at deciding their goals and they know what they want to achieve and then they know the habits that need to get them there, there's something called barrier underestimation. Like, so what they do is okay, so say for example, my goal is to get to the gym. Well, I need to consider what that's going to take. So if I say, okay, well, I'm going to get to the gym, we overestimate a goal. We say I'm going to get to the gym 5 times this week. I haven't been before, but I'm going to get to the gym 5 times this week. Well, and then you say to the trainer, like, how long's the session? Like, for example, here we run an hour session. Well, you have to take into consideration finer details. You have to be like, okay, well, I live 10 minutes away. So that's going to take me 10 minutes to get to the gym. Then I'm going to train for an hour, and then I'm going to have to go home, go home for 10 minutes. I'm going to have to shower, get ready for it. So you have to look at that and just go, actually, well, that's not an hour. That's 2 hours of my time. And you've got to look at that with every single goal that you make. As well as that, you've got to choose targets that will not require perfection. Choose easy, achievable. We call it low hanging fruit. It's like you can just imagine the tree with the lowest hanging fruit. Well, I don't have to climb up the tree. I can just grab it. Yeah, that's very achievable progress. And also pros and cons. Like decide what you're willing to trade. Too often with these barriers, people decide, okay, well, I can just get rid of fast food. Right, no, it's the same thing. Like completely stopping yourself from eating any fast food straight away is going to be just as hard as choosing a goal that's getting 5, 6 times a week from zero. Like slowly chip off the bad habits as you slowly add on with the good habits is the best way to go. And if there's things that you're just not willing to trade off right now, like so you're not willing to lose fast food because it gives you pleasure and makes you happy, well, you don't have to because you're still in the right direction. Just adding a good goal. And this is where people are just so harsh on themselves, and I see it all the time, is they need to do a complete 180 flip for them to be happy. And the biggest achievement is when you take these tiny little wins. Like I can just choose if I don't want to get rid of something that I consider to be a bad habit, well, I can just layer on another good habit on top of it. Like, and eventually that good habit might override the bad habit.
Well said, mate.
Yeah, it's like you like your burgers. You want to eat a burger, which I love burgers. I eat a burger. Well, I'm not gonna have the chips. I'm gonna have some vegetables on the side of a burger, so I'm still getting that in, right? These kind of things can really like they can pay off dividends over time. Like people are so harsh on themselves, and this is always I think this is the biggest issue with behavioral change.
I want it now. I want it yesterday. I want it as quick as possible.
Hmm.
When this is that delayed gratification, right? It's those slow things that you don't see straight away, but they slowly build up, and you do get what you want later. And unfortunately, it's just that slow process that's laid, and it's not sexy. It's not cool, but it's what works. It's what's been proven to work time and time and time again.
And while we talk about like we were just discussing how like kind of like these multi-directional goals, you also have to understand that like developing one goal might actually take up some time on another goal. So when we are if we want to be kind of well rounded and we want four goals to we have four goals in different directions that we want to achieve, we call it keystone habits. You have to look at your habits as how they will affect other habits. Some habits will interfere with other habits, and they can make it extremely like. Say for example, I got to get to the gym. That's 2 hours. But then after the gym, I want to go. I want to be better off at dropping the kids to school, for example. Then that's going to take an hour. Then these things can interject with each other quite a bit. So you have to look at keystone habits. These are things that will have a positive effect on other habits. So you can have one habit, like for example, okay, I want to start training the gym. Oh, well, I want to drink more water and I want to eat a bit healthier. Well, these kind of habits, all habits, they kind of knock off on each other and improve each other rather than habits get in the way. So I think it's very important to look at the amount of energy you can give out to increase your habits and just make sure things aren't stepping on other things' toes.
And then you need time for nothingness as well. You need time for to be regenerative. Because then we you
That
can
can be a
get
goal.
that is
Could be
because
a
you can be
habit.
so like, I'm going to crush everything. I'm going to do all this. I want all of it now. And you kind of plan your schedule to be pretty goddamn hectic, but you got to be realistic. Is this sustainable? Can I keep out this output? Or when do I need to kind of give back to myself and recharge to take on my next goal or to layer it up? So
And yeah,
you got to be very self-aware with what you can and cannot do. And again, these are honest conversations with yourself and something to bounce off someone else. Again, because they can give you feedback if they can support you with it or if they reckon it's realistic. And that can be with a partner or even, you know what, if it's a health or a type of training question, gauge your coach. We're always happy to have these kind of conversations.
and again, like you have this time, if you do have this kind of time to have off and regenerate and relax, well, we kind of just discussed it just then that in stressful environments, it's actually extremely hard to create new habits. So the more you can actually step away from the habits a little bit and give yourself moments of time to relax, the less stress you're experiencing, the more you'll be able to be malleable towards building new habits. You can look at it like obviously like think about it now, like when you have a bad night's sleep and you're stressed in the morning, how hard is it to have that healthier meal? Like all these little things, these factors play in really importantly. Like that's where you look at the keystone habits. It could be that really you're getting 5 hours sleep a night. Um, well, that first goal that you make could be okay. Well, I'm just going to try and achieve 6 to 7 hours sleep a night and just see what happens. And then you might be like, oh, now I have more energy to go to the gym, so I'm going to add that on top of my goal. And there's some real factors in your life that you might not be looking at that are really causing you so much detriment towards reaching better, healthier goals.
That's where a conversation's so important. Sometimes you're so
Mm.
looking down and looking in that you can't look up and out and kind of see the basic solutions. So that can be a talk with a supportive friend, a family member, or like a coach, like we said. Sometimes it's so simple and like, hey, you don't eat any vegetables. All you do is bloody eat this. Or, or it could be like James said, you don't sleep, or I know you game to bloody 1 o'clock in the morning, whatever it happens to be. And sometimes a bit of common sense can just kind of whack you in the face and be like, oh my God, this is what I need to do, that low hanging fruit, right?
Yeah, and as a coach, it's like it is our job. We're problem solvers, really, more than anything else. And you'll find that like we've just had so many scenarios come to us where people have asked us questions that these days it is more simple for us. It's like, oh, why don't you just do this first? Oh, I didn't think about that. Like,
It's a great time of year too, coming in. Obviously, this is a time where people get heavily motivated and they make these new commitments. This is a great time to be supportive of other individuals. So whether it be at whatever gym you're at, you're slightly experienced, you kind of, you're not so green anymore. Like you see someone doing something a bit silly or like, I don't know, they need a bit of help. This is a good time to be a mentor to someone or help guide someone into a great direction. So I know you might feel a bit uncomfortable, but try and be supportive in these times and try and lift other people up. Sometimes just getting a compliment or getting a bit of advice of someone else in a friendly manner can be so uplifting and really help solidify a habit that's, you know, trying to be formed. It could break or could form either one way or the other. So just remember to be really kind out there, be supportive, and be friendly where possible, because it's going to do is benefit the environment you're in anyway, right? I think it's a selfish play. You're helping someone because they're going to get better and they're going to kick ass, and in turn, you're going to have a better experience in that facility as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's you really like it's like walking around and just smiling at someone when you walk past them. It actually kind of feels number one. Like we now know that when I smile, it creates like a change of hormones in my body that actually make me happier. In return, I'm just passing it around as well. It's like you'd actually be surprised at how much goodness comes from one good act in that sense.
There we go. And again, selfish, like we said before, reiterate, man. Just creating the
I
world
do
that you
this
want to
for
live in.
me.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, create the world that you want to live in. I love that. That's good.
Anything else, sir?
Oh no, no, that's it. I think that's everything.
Guys, wish you all the success into your endeavors. Again, thank you for being with us this year. We really appreciate you guys. Thanks for listening this far, mate. Like it, share, subscribe, all that beautiful stuff, guys. And we look forward to joining you in the next year.
Thank you.
Bye.